Well, hello and welcome to another LinkedIn Live Q&A where I'm delighted to be joined by Richard Marsden, who is the co-founder and director of a new company called True North Digital. How are you doing, Richard?
I'm good, Paul. I'm good, thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
No,
This actually fulfills one of my ambitions for 2021. It's great. In the last 24 hours, I've fulfilled two ambitions. One, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and who just wrote a book actually about kind of the electronic music scene in the 80s and 90s in Manchester, and he's told me I'm mentioned in that somewhere.
well,
Don't
okay.
know whether he was just trying to entice me to buy a copy of his paperback. I'm not too sure, but this is I've actually fulfilled another ambition of mine for 2021, actually, to appear on one of your kind of live chat / podcast
Oh,
things.
yeah,
So
well, there you
so
go.
excellent. Yeah, I've ticked two boxes in the last 24 hours. So thank you.
Well, a good start of the year, but also
Yeah,
starting the new business as well. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But
sure.
the topic we're going to talk about is digital transformation across the north.
Yep.
So for anyone that doesn't know what that is, can you try and explain what digital transformation is?
I'll try to articulate in kind of non-techie speak. I know that there's a lot of technology related individuals out there who will kind of put it into slightly different terminology. But essentially, digital technology will mean something slightly different to every organization that kind of wants to touch in terms of process efficiency, productivity improvement, enhancements in terms of their kind of digital channels and omni-channels, in terms of how they market their products and services. It means something different to every single individual organization, certainly that I've ever worked with, Paul. I suppose in a nutshell, there's a big emphasis at the moment on what is digital, and what I don't want to see happen, especially here in the north, is that businesses start to put the cart before the horse, and by that means it's easy to kind of pick a particular strategy or particular product and kind of run with that without actually truly understanding first and foremost what your business strategy is. So digital transformation in a nutshell means a lot of different things to a lot of different businesses, but my instruction really to a lot of the business leaders that are out there hopefully listening to this is, look, don't put that cart before the horse. Bring in the relevant organizations, people like myself and True North Digital, to actually sit down and really pick away at the detail in terms of what it is that you're looking to try and accomplish.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily mean digital transformation isn't always about the technology. It's You've got to bring the people aspect into that mix, and any people adoption experts and change managers that are watching this as well will hopefully be nodding their heads in agreement of what that statement I've just made.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good because some companies are just by nature they are digital companies. You know that they were born digital. You know that the whole business is a digital technology company, but there's a lot
Yeah,
of traditional non-digital, maybe manufacturing, engineering, kind of traditional, very successful companies who maybe don't use digital much or don't use it very well, but could be a lot more productive and a lot more efficient and a lot more profitable if
yeah,
they brought in some digital technologies, but they're maybe skeptical of that and because they've never had to before and they don't see
yeah.
don't understand why. So is that there's a lot of are they kind of people that you're wanting to work with, some of those companies as well as the ones that are already using digital?
Yeah, we're looking to try and touch across all of the different sectors, and certainly the research that we're doing at the moment in terms of that market segmentation, the data is telling us that there are a number of businesses, several hundred businesses in the north, and by the north I mean Manchester to Leeds to Newcastle and encroaching up into the north of the border up into Edinburgh. There are a number of businesses across those sectors where the leaders of those particular organizations are really now sitting and wondering about how actually, off the back of this terrible situation that we find ourselves in business wise, the massive impact of COVID-19 and the economic downturn now, well, how do we actually recover from that? There's a lot of talk about growth and scale. I've really looked at this from a different perspective and said, well, actually, for me, it's about recovery and sustainability. how do we actually look at utilizing digital technologies to, one, to help the business recover, but two, more fundamentally become a more sustainable organization for the future. But yeah, engineering, manufacturing, certainly across different private organization sectors, communications, retail, financial services, and even which we can talk about during the course of this conversation, building those alliances with like-minded organizations who complement the services and the products that True North Digital are looking to provide. Because essentially, I think that allegiance across the North and specifically within the Northeast is going to give us the opportunity and an enhancement of capability to provide additional value to these businesses.
Yeah. Okay, that's smart. Well, you know, collaboration, partnerships, that you can have a bigger impact that way if you're doing that. And I mean, that's a key thing, I suppose, with the work that you're doing and how to use technology as well. Is like it's not one product is going to do everything for you. It's probably, okay, how do these different technologies work together to the benefit of the organization? So you need someone who really not only understands the technology, but also really understands the business of the organization that you're going into, and that's where you come in, isn't it?
Exactly right. So I wouldn't sit on this call and try to profess that I'm a technology guru. My ability and my experience is more akin with being able to have a dialogue and articulate from a technology perspective how that then feeds into the overarching business strategy. So being that conduit across the technologies landscape and then into the organization. And certainly the people that I'm looking to bring into the organization as well have that skill set, complementary to each other, not necessarily coming from a really strong technology background, but have that capability to be able to look at what the challenges are within a business, identify those pain points, and actually then build a solution. And also having the experience of being there at the coal face from a delivery perspective to be able to say, okay, we know how to put this relevant framework in place to actually get this kick-started off the ground and accelerated so that your organization can start to reap the benefits of the solution that you've looked to adopt.
Yeah. Well, it's a real skill to be able to do that, to be able to talk to techies and non-techies and be that. I think sometimes I've heard it just as like a translator, because sometimes techies and non-techies do talk kind of different languages and they don't understand where each other's come from. But so having someone either in the organization already or someone like yourself and your colleagues who can come in and be that, like you say, that conduit, the translator, and see it from all sides is really important to the success of the project and the digital transformation.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, technology is moving at such a pace. I do try to keep abreast with what's happening and obviously the fundamental changes that are out there, but you do sit down with some individuals, and I'm not going to name any names on this call, I embarrass anybody, but some of it still goes over your head a little bit, and it's about being patient and having the willingness to actually sit down with the guys that are looking to provide the solution. Hopefully that's an agnostic solution and not tied to any one particular vendor, which isn't what True North Digital is about, by the way. And actually, as you just suggested, being able to translate that into a language that the business leaders understand, because without them actually understanding what the benefits and the realization of those benefits is going to look like after the program is fully executed and embedded into the business, it's a challenge for them to really kind of get their head around it. And one of the things that True North Digital want to be able to do in terms of that support mechanism is, look, we know that it doesn't just stop at go live. You can press the button, the systems switch on, everybody thinks it's fantastic, but actually it's about optimizing those solutions for the future, and that doesn't happen instantaneously. That is a measurable period of time where you still have to have your metrics in place. You still have to take those measurements at various points in time, call them milestones, call them gate checks, whatever you wish, but you still need to have that periodic check in place to make sure that what you've actually implemented is still working, and actually put that loop in place to make sure that your users, your customers have the opportunity to feed back in terms of any fundamental changes, any fundamental flaws, anything that just isn't working right. So leveraging from that kind of insider knowledge, that insider information to enhance the product even further over a period.
Yeah, really, really important, because like you say, it's not just, you're not just coming in, selling in a solution and then off you go again. It's really important that you're there throughout the, the whole implementation, and then after that go live date, like you say, to make sure it's really fully embedded in, and that everybody's bought into it. Because is that, I was going to say, is that like a kind of common problem that happens, that you've seen happen, where maybe some people are bought into the technology and they haven't really spent the time getting the buy-in from everybody else on the course?
Yeah, Paul, I think it's a really valid point that you make there. I think there is a lot of instances, certainly my experience, and again, I suspect there's people on who are watching this who will be nodding in agreement. Yeah, of course, 100%. The time that it takes to actually change that mindset, and not necessarily the culture, but switch your mindset to your people onto the fact that actually this change is coming. You need to get on board with this. We need your support, we need your help, and we need that buy-in. That is absolutely critical. It's fundamental to anything that you do in any change initiatives that you're looking to do within an organization, because if not, that program of work or that organization could implode. The business leaders unfortunately do spend a lot of time looking at the actual solution itself and thinking that on a strategic level this is going to fix all of our problems, but it won't. A new CRM system, a bespoke application to run your operations isn't going to solve all of your problems unless you get that mindset change and that shift within your actual organization itself. And again, that means all people. A lot of organizations talk about the people from a user perspective, but any business that has a supply chain partnership, which is fairly substantial, and obviously logistics and how you actually manage that supply chain, it will impact them as well. So don't forget about those guys. Don't forget about your consumers, your customers, or if you're a B2B, obviously the businesses that you sell to. Don't forget about those guys. It's not just about your own internal users. There's a full spectrum of people that you need to actually involve in that analysis, and making sure that that kind of stakeholder management piece and that shift in terms of that mindset is fully embedded.
Yeah. Well, the key thing on that is, when you talk about people, it is people. It's technology that benefits the people. You're dealing with humans. It's that, and humans are complicated. There's like different psychologies and like reasons why people do and don't do things, that you have to, personality types and all that sort of stuff. So understanding why some people might be resistant to change as well. And you want to talk a little bit about that? Why typically some people might be resistant? Is it kind of fear that it's going to make their life job harder, or maybe their job might be under threat, or something like that?
Yeah, I think you're right, Paul. I think the biggest obstacle that you will encounter if you're trying to instigate any change, be that kind of process enhancements, new adoption in terms of digital technologies, or centralization of one of your divisions or one of your services, people will always be fearful about, actually, how does this impact me? What does this mean to my job? What does this mean to my salary? And people do become protective of their own environment, and rightly so. People are people, as you say. It's about making sure, as I said a few minutes back, bringing them on that journey with you right from the outset, and actually telling those individuals that, look, guys, we can't do this without you. You guys are the ones that are running our operations. You're the guys with the boots on the ground. We need to leverage from your knowledge, because fundamentally we need to make sure that this solution, one, works for the business, but actually complements everything that we do from a process perspective and everything that we do from an operational perspective with our boots on the ground. So the biggest barriers, you are right, 100%, is the fear that people will be impacted by this negatively. And if you can bring people on that journey with you and actually change that mindset so that they actually understand that, no, it's not going to impact me negatively, it's going to impact me positively, because For example, a finance department, we can shave 30% of our time off our month end processes by adopting this particular piece of new technology. We'll have to refine some of our processes to make sure that it's interoperable with said technology. But actually, the benefit we're going to get out of this is I can finish at 5 o'clock on a Friday and I don't have to do any work at the weekend. Those are the things like that. Those are the key selling points, really. Yeah. Again, it's understanding what, or letting the people know what the benefits are to them at that particular level. You'll have a wider strategic business benefit, but actually at user level, what does it mean to those guys? And that's some of the things that we've endeavored to do previously, and certainly the absolutely brilliant delivery team that I was working with on my last program, the way we actually wrote the release plan was, it was at user level. What does this mean to a user? What will this actually enable? So every feature and every user story that was written, and sorry for using jargon and terminology there, but basically everything that was written in a language that actually addressed it from a user perspective. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. That was exactly the right way to do it, because it meant that you could cascade that out by whatever communication channels you see fit. People could read it, people had the opportunity to ask questions, and people had the opportunity to input actually before any development of any solution took place. So that was a brilliant way to actually bring it down, not dumb it down, but actually bring it down to a user level that actually people would be able to understand. And that works brilliantly.
That's good. I've not heard of that, but it makes sense, because I've seen it more from a external marketing point of view, when using case studies, because it helps people. It can resonate with them more, and they can relate it back to their own circumstances. They can say, "Oh, well, I can see how that's benefited that person. They look a bit like me, or they do a similar role to me, and okay, I can see that," rather than just hearing about the technology or hearing like in broad terms how it's going to benefit them. And then just thinking when you were talking there as well, that nobody likes to be dictated to or have things imposed on them. But if people know why they're doing it, and they understand the context of it, and what the point of this is, and how they fit into that, I think that they're more likely to buy into it, aren't they, rather than just being told, here's some new technology, we're going to put it in place, you've got to go to this workshop, or you've just got to start using it. It's like, well, I don't get it. I know, and I know from the personal point of view, I do like to ask questions, but once I know why something's happening, I'm all in. Do you know what I mean? Once I understand why we're doing something, then I'm fully on board.
Well, unfortunately, businesses, globally sink, and the stats will tell you this. You do any kind of research through any particular search engine, you can pull up the stats fairly easily. There's millions, hundreds of millions of pounds on dollars that have been sunk into digital transformation programs, and unfortunately, there's a high percentage of those that are unsuccessful. Unsuccessful for a number of reasons, but actually, if you start to dig a little bit deeper, the primary reason why those particular initiatives have become unsuccessful is because they haven't gauged the appetite of the business, first and foremost. They've misaligned what that digital transformation piece of work should be doing in terms of the overall business strategy, and fundamentally, they haven't engaged with their user base, or that breadth of people that I mentioned before, from across the supply chain all the way through to the people actually buy their products and services. And without actually doing those things, unfortunately, you're probably going to end up with something where you'll use what I call vanity metrics. And these are typical kind of parameters that project management is about. So time, cost, and quality. And you could deliver something on time, you may be on budget, but without that optimization piece that I mentioned earlier on, you could be 6 months down the line and say, right, we delivered that project on time, we delivered it on budget, but truly, have we actually been able to optimize our business with that solution? That's the measurable, tangible business benefit that every organization should be striving to achieve. Not delivering it on time and budget, great, fantastic, but actually how we optimize that solution over the period to do what I said before about becoming, well, first of all, recovering, off the back of this economic storm, and actually then becoming more sustainable.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point of it, isn't it? It's like
Exactly
the transformation and improvement of the company. It's not just to deliver a project on time; it's to actually have the transformation at the end of it. And
and get your strategy right from the outset, Paul. You don't come in with a you'll hear it as well as I do. There's a lot of buzzwords out there. You don't come in with a machine learning strategy if it doesn't fit for the organization and doesn't actually complement what you're looking to try and do with your longer term business strategy. But businesses, unfortunately, and business leaders sometimes, and me as well in the past, you become a little bit bamboozled by everything that's kind of spinning around out there in the kind of digital ethos. And unfortunately, a lot of people just grab onto something that they think is going to kind of wave that magic wand for them, fix everything that's causing them the challenges within the organization without actually truly understanding, well, one, am I going to get a good return on the investment for this particular solution? And two, actually, is it going to help me become more sustainable? And is it going to optimize our efficiencies within the business? So, I would implore any business leader, before you make any decision in terms of what your procurement of any digital technology looks like, is actually look under the skin of your organization first. And that's again where True North Digital and organizations like True North Digital can help you out. We're able to come in and give that consultancy piece. We've got the experience to be able to do that, and also through our network, which I'll touch on how we're actually building that in a minute or so. We can actually come in and bring that strong technical skills. We can bring those people adoption and change management expertise, and actually the people that we're going to bring in can help you optimize that solution.
Amazing. Okay, well, you've got tons of experience in this world, so do you want to explain a bit about your background? You
Sure.
don't have to know companies, and then why you've started this new company. So it is a new company, True North Digital. Did you start at the end of last year, or is it just January officially? So
probably not too dissimilar to yourself, Paul, and a lot of people. I came from a corporate background. I worked for several kind of different sized organizations up until 2013. And it was at that point I decided basically I was going to put my hand into working for myself. And it was great that I built up a network across the utility and energy sector from the businesses that I'd worked for previously. And I was able to pick up a piece of contract work fairly rapidly, working for British Gas. And that was to come in and mobilise their Warm Up North scheme, which was a northeast-based fuel poverty initiative that BG were running. So I did that for about 16 months. I think I ended up working for them but on a contract basis. It was one of those, I didn't really want to go back into the corporate world as a permanent employee. So I did that for about 16 months. And then I was lucky enough to pick up another couple of contracts again, working for fairly substantial businesses on different initiatives. And that was what I really, really enjoyed. It is what I'd really enjoyed as a kind of permie person, but actually working for yourself, where you're kind of master of your own destiny and you're your own boss, so to speak. I really loved it. So I went limited in 2015 with a company called PPT Change Management, based up here in the North East, which has been fantastic to me. I really love the Northeast. It's given me a whole kind of new lease of life. It's given me a fantastic wife who's very supportive. Shout out. And I've got two beautiful daughters, and I live in a beautiful part of the world. So it was always about staying up here and trying to give something back to the Northeast through PPT Change Management. And I was lucky enough that and determined enough that I've worked for some great businesses up here, people like BLP, who are a print and marketing communications business based out in Benton. Brilliant business. I helped them with 27001 and a number of other initiatives. I did some work with a new startup called I Am Sold, who have like an online property auction business, very digitally led. And then I've worked for some of the big boys as well, people like Sage and what was Hewlett Packard Enterprises back in the day. But during last year, obviously everybody in lockdown, I got talking with a couple of other people when we came out of lockdown in July, and just over the beers, we got to talking about what our backgrounds were, what our aspirations and ambitions were. And just coincidentally, these guys had come from very similar backgrounds to me, worked in the corporate world, had a lot of exposure to digital transformation projects, had helped businesses that they'd worked for previously kind of accelerate that digital transformation and put the relevant kind of initiatives in place that had helped those businesses grow. One of those chaps, a guy called Liam Rafferty, who was the co-founder of True North Digital. He'd worked for Aldi for 15 years. I think Liam, I'll try and get the numbers right. He'll correct me, I'm sure, after this if I get them wrong. But he helped grow that organization from, what wasn't a insignificant business, about £100 million turnover, with about 20 or so stores across the UK. And when Liam went, when he left that business, I think they'd had about 60 so stores, and I think it was about 1.2 billion turnover. So he was absolutely pivotal in doing that. And really what we started to talk about was what's happening in the north, what's happening within the northeast. And we've our vision has always been, and don't get me wrong, it's kind of manifested and it's evolved over the last few months, but the vision has always been about
frozen a little bit. Just at the key crucial point. Okay, well, oh, he's coming back. Go on, you're back. Are you still there? Okay, I'm going to say, I'm going to fill in for a bit. I'm going to say if people want to find out more about Richard, obviously, truenorth-digital.co.uk, to find out more about the company and who's involved in it. Just waiting for the signal.
Are you back?
Yes, you're back. I'm just filled in a bit for you there. I've given them your web address so they can check out. But go on.
So yeah, sorry. So the vision has always been right from the outset when we were talking about this from the July, and I was always of the mindset that coming out of kind of 2019, which unfortunately for me, at the back end of 2019, my dad passed away, and I think you and I discussed this about a week or so ago. You have those kind of pivotal moments in your life where you get a kick up the backside and you reflect on what you're doing and where you're going and what your real ambitions are. And it was at that kind of point I was like, you know what, I've done lots with PPT. I've built the business to a decent turnover. We're actually making money, but it was essentially about me, and I always had the aspiration to scale that business. But through meeting with Liam and kind of bouncing ideas off people like yourself and people like Michael Owen, who I'll have to give a shout out to as well, fantastic guy, great mentor. We decided that really instead of keeping the brand, it was about addressing the brand and putting a new identity in place, because I didn't want it just to be about Richard. I wanted it to be about a brand that we could grow within the Northeast that was targeting Northeast businesses, actually delivering value and benefit to Northeast businesses, and helping to boost the Northeast economy. And I'm massively passionate about that, Paul, as you know from the conversations that we've had previously. So that was the vision. And it was, well, how do we actually then build a business, and how do we identify where there's a potential gap in the market? And I know there's other consultancies out there, and there's some fantastic consultancies in the Northeast of all shapes and sizes. But really, we was all about the the optimization, the coalface experience of actually, albeit working at C-suite level as well, actually being able to roll our sleeves up, get stuck in, and actually do the delivery piece as well. And that people adoption aspect of one of our business streams is massively important as well. So providing the initial consultancy, fantastic. Certainly we can do that. Being hands-on, or having to be hands-on, rolling up off the sleeves, getting stuck in, putting the right frameworks in place, the right practices and processes, so that actually you can succeed with your program of work. And then fundamentally making sure that as a best separate business stream, we have that people adoption in place as well. And that again is absolutely crucial, as we've been discussing. So we looked at how we're actually going to get the business off the ground. And I thought I'd learn from some of my experiences back in 2015, and just some basic things of opening business accounts at the bank, putting the insurances in place, looking at how you market the business. It's just massively changed. Again, I'm leveraging. I'm going to have to leverage again from these lessons. Just things like, the bank account was quite painful to get in place, especially with the more traditional high street banks, because they're just not open properly, and they're not just taking the new business on at the moment. So I thought I'd learned from those mistakes, but it's been a new experience. But we are in a process now where we've sat down and we've looked at actually how we're going to start to scale the business, and through that initial setup and mobilization phase, what we're going to do within the first quarter. Now, again, for anybody that's opening a business out there, I don't know whether there's a right or wrong way to do this. The way we chose to do it was to first and foremost get our digital footprint out there. So make sure that we had a website that emblazoned right across that what our vision was, what our values were, what our purpose and intent was. Look at it from a marketing perspective, and again, how strategically we were going to market the business, how we were going to network, and then fundamentally how we were going to then start to resource the business. That's been done all on the back of us not having a comprehensive pipeline of work, and that may go against the grain of some businesses that go, no, you need to have that in place first. But that's how we chose to get the business off the ground. That's the strategy that we're sticking to, and the movements that we're getting at this moment in time in terms of bringing people in to support that, I think are going to be really beneficial. So yeah, the vision is to be that northern based digital transformation consultancy, helping businesses in the north to recover, to become more sustainable, to optimize these digital solutions, and fundamentally benefit in the northern economy. And I have been asked how we're being very inclusive, because we are targeting the north, and our whole brand is about the north. And you know what? I think we are. I don't think there's anything wrong with respecting and showcasing that northern heritage. And fundamentally, if we can help businesses succeed and become more sustainable, become more profitable in the north, then in my opinion, we're respecting that inclusivity, but we're just doing that in the north. So yeah, that's kind of where we are in terms of what we're about. We've got a lot going on at the moment, if I'm honest. It's really busy. We're working on a number of different strategies in terms of how we bring our resources in and how we actually start to grow that network. I'm sorry to sound a little bit cryptic, but it's only because there's one particular area where we haven't made a decision yet, but we are in conversations with 3 businesses who do have a presence in the northeast, as to how we actually grow that resource pool, and how that alliance, that partnership, helps us penetrate the market a little bit quicker, allows us to accelerate areas that potentially weren't going to be able to before. We're also, I'm pleased to say, through our relationship with Newcastle University, we've got a candidate that's going to come on board hopefully in the next week. Fantastic young academic. I think she's going to help us really accelerate our marketing strategy, and that's something that we fundamentally see as being part of our longer term relationship with Newcastle University to actually then start to grow the business from a resourcing perspective. So, and again, I would implore any business leader that's not aware of the internship or the master's program that goes on across Newcastle and Northumbria University to speak to them, because the caliber of people that I interviewed was absolutely fantastic. And if that's what the talent pool looks like in that demographic in the Northeast, then wow, fantastic. That's something certainly True North Digital want to start to utilize.
Yeah, love it, love it. Well, on the well, I love all of that, and I'm really passionate about the North and the Northeast in particular. But and it's great that I know how you are as well from our conversations as well, and you're from Manchester originally, living in the Northeast. But I mean,
don't hold that against me though.
No, but it is a huge area, like the North, Northeast, Northwest Yorkshire, and into Scotland. That is a massive area, and there's so many amazing businesses here who like they're doing really well anyway, or maybe they were doing really, really well before COVID, and maybe they're struggling now, or just with a bit more support or a bit more knowledge and insight, they could really genuinely transform the business into supercharging what they do and the economy. So I think that having that distinct geography is really good, because if you're just a digital transformation organization that works with anybody anywhere, so what? Like some people, you're excluding them, but fine. If the business isn't in the Northeast, Northwest, Yorkshire, Scotland, that's fine. But you will automatically appeal to a lot of people. The fact that you've got that distinctive geography that you're focused on, and that you are Northerners as well. You're Northerners in the North, doing it for the North. It's really, really important. And from my background working for Tech North, part of Tech Nation, people like that. That there is a real energy and a different mindset. I think if you're Northern to being from the South, you do have a different attitude to business, to life, to the world from looking from the North. So I think you can do really, really well. You just need more people knowing about you, which is why we're doing this.
Exactly, Paul. Yeah, it's not just our strap line. Just to reiterate, it is something that we are massively passionate about. And we've sat down and we spoke about, are we going to pigeonhole ourselves too much by having this whole northernness about us? And I don't think we are, to be quite honest. I don't think we will. That's a big geography to be looking at. There's a massive amount of investment going into Manchester, Leeds. I can see Newcastle now starting to come on stream. There's certainly a lot of investment. We know obviously what's happening up in Blythe. I can see new businesses coming into some of the office space, like the Helix and across at Proto and office buildings like that. We know that Sage is moving onto the Silverlink. So that activity is still going on. Unfortunately, I do think that the Northeast is a little bit off the curve because of that lack of probably central government investment. But hopefully 2021 and 2022, there's a bigger plan of investment, and businesses who don't generally have the capital to be able to invest in this can benefit from some of that investment and engage with businesses like True North Digital to say, look, guys, we've now got a little bit of support. Come on board. Give us a helping hand. Let's see what we can fix and actually help us remediate some of the challenges that we've got. So I think the next 2 to 3 years are going to be really exciting for True North Digital. Again, those alliances that we're building, I have been building over the last 3 months, and now starting to come to fruition. The relationship that we've got with Newcastle University, and hopefully that will have a lot of longevity around it. Again, I think that's going to support our longer term vision, our longer term strategy, and fundamentally we just want to support businesses up here, Paul. I had an interesting conversation with actually a Geordie lad who hasn't lived in Newcastle for a number of years, and he's just concentrating. He does similar sort of stuff. but he's just concentrating on kind of the M25 jurisdiction because that's where he lives and he's been down there for a number of years. And that's great. You know, he just wants to concentrate on what's happening down there. He sees it as a bigger opportunity. I disagree. I think there's plenty of opportunity up here in the north, this is my home. You know, I will sleep sound at night knowing that if we can help some of the young academics and we can build that relationship and we can potentially prosper and we can start to give people jobs coming out of university, that will be a fantastic, absolutely fantastic achievement for me and for the business. If we can help Northeast businesses achieve that sustainability piece, again, you know, I'll go to my grave, whenever that may be, a very, very happy guy. So we're not necessarily about becoming the biggest and turning over, you know, millions and millions of pounds, but we're not about that. We've got our feet planted firmly on the ground. We know what our niche market is, and we know the businesses that we're looking to target. It's now coming off the back of our marketing strategy, and when we start to accelerate that over the next few weeks, hopefully we'll get a little bit more engagement. We'll get the doors opening for us, and actually the businesses will be able to realize the value that we're able to offer.
Yeah. No, well, I know you're going to be successful. You are, and obviously your passion, but your knowledge and your experience is going to put you in good stead for that. And you're right.
Not just mine, Paul.
Yeah. No, I know you've mentioned your co-founder, and you've got some strong partnerships in the pipeline or coming soon. Fingers crossed. So. Yeah, I think you are going to do very well. And when you were talking about the North, you're right. I mean, even the time when I worked for Tech North, my role was community engagement and partnerships manager for the whole of the north of England. So
yeah,
it was focused on 7 cities: so Newcastle, Sunderland, Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield, and Hull. That's a massive area to cover, right? And so every week I was over in Manchester. First train to Manchester Monday morning, spending all day there, usually stopping overnight and then going off to Liverpool or Leeds or Sheffield or Hull, whatever. That was, and then you had to, at the time, a lot of it was being seen on the ground, going to events, building up your network. But a lot of the time you can do it remotely. You can do it from anywhere and working from co-working spaces, hot desking, whatever. But people did appreciate it that you were focused on the north and that you were a northerner, a bunch of northerners in the north doing it for the north. That really resonated with so many people that really bought into what Tech North was originally about. And there is amazing companies everywhere. That it is a sweeping statement, but I think northerners generally,
yes,
just crack on, just get on with it. They're not so good at promoting themselves or putting their head up and telling the world what's going on until they need to bring in some new staff or some investment. That's kind of the time when they get really good at promoting themselves, but it's almost too late then because people don't know about them.
But we've done it for hundreds of years, though, haven't we, Paul? We've done it for hundreds of years. If you look at, the manufacturing industry in Manchester, if you look at the coal industry up here, people are passionate about what it is that they did, and I think there's been obviously a lot of those industries were impacted for a number of reasons, but the cities have adapted and actually brought new kind of services, new businesses on stream, and to move away from some of those core industries. But if you look at the way we led the world, not just the UK, the way we led the world in some of those industries, through the 17 and 1800s, I think we've still possessed that same grit, that same determination, that same doggedness in today's kind of more technology-led environment.
Yeah, no, totally. I think as well, genuine innovation, like world class, world leading, world changing innovation from the north as well throughout history. That's happened. It's come from across the north. It's not in isolation. It's needed. Places like London and other major cities, because that's where the money is. Still that's where a large chunk of the money and the investment takes place. But the innovation and the genuine engine of the economy has often come from the north of England. So I'm really into history as well, right? So it's like there was a moment in time where the balance of power was completely changed, and it was all in the north. It was all the north. That's where everything was happening, the place to be. And then it's kind of maybe shifted, centralized again because of politics and media and money down to London. But still, amazing talent, amazing businesses, amazing innovation up in the north. And I remember there's a designer called Wayne Hemingway. Don't know if you've heard of him.
Of course.
Red or Dead. Yeah.
Yes.
So he's originally from Morecambe in the northwest, and I heard him speak at the Great Exhibition of the North Business Conference 3 years ago, I think. And he said when he was starting out as a fashion designer, there was nothing in the north for a fashion designer, so he had to go to London. So all his friends, all the fashion designers, all the arty creative types moved to London, right, in the 80s. And back then you could get a house for next to nothing, right? Yeah. And he's saying, but now him and all his friends, all the most interesting, creative, innovative people that he knows, they don't want to be in London. They're moving back to the north. And he was saying the north is where it's at now. That's where all the opportunity and the excitement is. So he was everybody to focus on the north. And even speak to investors and everyone, they're all saying the north is the place to be.
Yeah, which is a concern of mine, if I'm honest. And the reason why it is we kind of looked at the business, and when we looked at where our kind of strengths and weaknesses were and where those threats and opportunities, one of the threats that we identified was that focus now on the north, from businesses who aren't based in the north, coming into the north and basically taking that business away from organizations such as True North Digital, and we certainly don't want that to happen. And I think forming this allegiance, similar to what we're doing with like-minded organizations up here, we're hoping we're not going to put the wall back in place, but what we want to do essentially is to shout out to all the businesses up here and say, look, you don't need to go to London to procure your consultancy business, your consultancy services. You don't need to go down south to bring in your transformation expertise or your project or program management expertise. There's actually lots and lots of it up here. There's some great expertise up here, and there's some great businesses up here. Why would you not benefit from that? Let's keep the goodness within the northern districts and actually help boost the northern economy organically. That is something that we're not about, and unfortunately, in my experience working alongside some of the so-called big four, generally what happens is they parachute guys in from the south. And that just doesn't resonate with me, Paul. And again, maybe I'm not being very inclusive there, but I think really let's keep the goodness in the north, deal with northern businesses, add the value to the northern organizations, and as I said, let's keep the northern economy strong and make it even stronger through that allegiance, through that alliance. And actually, and one thing that I do like about the north, I think Manchester's changed a little bit, but I think Newcastle in the northeast is still a fantastic place to do business on a face-to-face level, similar to what we're doing now. It's about the relationships, and certainly the relationships that we're going to look to try and develop over the forthcoming weeks and months and nurture those relationships, we see as massively important. It's not just about having the most proficient CRM system in place to manage your pipeline and your marketing and stuff like that. We're big advocates of that face-to-face and that having that personable touch. You're not just going to come in as the consultants and then parachute a load of grads in from down south. Actually, it's what you see is what you get. You get that authenticity. You get the people that you're dealing with. It's totally transparent, and actually, and I'm picking my values here, the solutions that we're able to provide you with will be really innovative, and they'll be innovative in sync with your budgets, in sync with how quickly you want that to be delivered, and also we'll make sure that that people adoption piece is part and parcel of that particular program of work. But yeah, I do see that it's unfortunate, and businesses will always look to grow organically across different geographies, but if we can keep going with what we're trying to do, and I know there's a lot of businesses out there trying to do the same, listen guys, just let's work together. There's enough business to go around, and actually it will help the North prosper, and that's entirely what True North Digital are about.
Yeah, love it. I don't think you've got anything to worry about. If anything, I think you've got a massive advantage, because the fact that you're born here, like not just you, but like the company is born in the North, right, will resonate with the companies that are here as well. And because we talked earlier about how important it is to get buy-in from people, you know, you're more likely to get buy-in from people if you are one of them, if you're a northerner, if you understand what it's like to live and work here in the North, compared to someone who's from down south and parachuted in and doesn't really understand the complexities or the culture of what it's like to live and work here. So I think you've got nothing to worry about there. That is a massive advantage that you've got over some other companies. So yeah,
brilliant. I'm pleased you've said that, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So if anyone wants to, I'm sure anyone watching this will want to work with you or connect with you. But I did mention your website before, but if people are interested and they want to have a chat about how you can maybe come in, is it to go on your website, or do you like?
Yeah, there's a contact form on the website, Paul. There's the info at truenorthdigital.co.uk, or actually, as I've just said, if you want to have a conversation with me or any members of the team that we're putting together, give me a shout. You can DM me through LinkedIn if you want to kind of go a little bit more private and personal, and I'm happy to jump on to a call with anybody. We do have a 1 hour kind of free consultancy, which we manage through our systems. So I'm happy to kind of book people in, have a conversation. Let's try and find out what you're about, where your pain points are, and whether there's anything that we can do to help you out.
Right. Amazing. Okay. Well, obviously people can connect on LinkedIn here and message you, but I'll put a link to your website as well underneath in the comments as well.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And we'll get this promoted everywhere. I know it's gone out live on LinkedIn, and it's gone on Twitter, and it's gone on Facebook as well, and it'll be on the YouTube channel as well, the Newcastle Startup Week YouTube channel, if anyone wants to watch it on replay as well. But thank you very much.
My daughters will be pleased. That's going to be they'll be very impressed that is on YouTube.
You're a YouTube star. I would say I did an interview with someone on Monday, and his fiance was in the back, like after the interview ended, and she said, "Oh, I've just had a WhatsApp message from a friend to say, oh, David's on the telly." he was on like LinkedIn and he was on all the different stuff. They're like, oh, he's on the TV. So YouTube's like the TV now, isn't it? So yeah, you'll be on the telly.
Oh yeah, my girls will be they'll be stoked. Yeah. They'll probably be asking me though, do I know any of these YouTube influencers and stuff like this? Bless them. I don't even know how they know all this at 8 and 5, but they just do, don't they?
They do. Well, you're influencing in your world, so yeah. All right. Okay. Loved it. Thank you very much.
Loved it, buddy. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right. Okay. I'll end that now. Cheers.
Take care. Bye.